So I'm here to tell you why I picked up the Panasonic S5, over any other camera in this $2,000-ish price range. So let's just go ahead together as a people and check it out. Okay, so I'm here to break down why I'm upgrading from the GH4 to the Panasonic S5. I want to preface this by saying I'm not a videographer or photographer. I'm just an amateur that mainly does YouTube videos. Like, I wouldn't even consider myself like barely an amateur. I know a little bit about color correction and I know how to get the moods I like for my videos, but that's pretty much it. I dabble. So this isn't going to be like a super technical camera review or anything like that. There are plenty of good reviews out there for the S5. It's been out for over a year. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the whole package for like a YouTuber. And this camera has got me really excited. So I bought this camera thinking like, okay, I got the GH4, so this is just going to kind of be a full frame upgrade. But in a way, it just feels like a completely different camera. But there are a few differences I want to talk about first. And there's a few primary reasons of why I upgraded before I ever bought it. Which, number one, was the low light performance, or just the contrast in general. So right now I'm shooting a pretty dark scene, and the GH4 is doing a pretty good job. But the S5, I just feel like the dynamic range is way better. It's probably not going to be as noticeable in this scene. So right now I just have my main key light here, and then I have my RGB lights on behind me and have a reflector over here. And then that's it. That's all the light that's in the room right now. And like I said, the GH4 is doing a pretty good job. You can tell that the lights are on in the background. But in the daytime, and the opposite, that window is completely blown out. So I'll have those lights on when I shoot like a daytime video, and you won't be able to make out the lights at all. And with the S5, when I've shot with it, you can still make out the lights. Like, obviously they're not going to be as pronounced as they are right now, but you can still make them out. So I just think having those little bit of extra details really adds to the drama of the whole thing. Because I shoot in the dark sometimes because I like drama. I like being dramatic, okay? Don't argue with me. It's like being dramatic. So the low light performance, because it's a full frame camera, from what I've seen, I did watch a lot of videos and listen to a lot of research, is better than all of Panasonic's Micro Four Thirds camera, including the GH5S, which was kind of created to be that like nice low light camera, but just because of how big the sensor is, it's just naturally better at low light. So that was another reason I wanted to go full frame. The other reason is I wanted to see if it would help with my space constraints. Right now I'm shooting with a 25mm lens. This is a main lens that I pretty much always use with the GH4. The first lens that I bought for it, probably the best lens. It's super sharp. I really like it. I just think it's a little bit sharper than the lens that comes with the S5, honestly. But it is 25mm, which is actually equivalent to 50, and I didn't get that for the longest time until I got this S5. So right now, the S5 is actually shooting at 25mm. So you can see the difference. This is 25mm on the S5. This is 25mm on the GH4. I could have just zoomed the camera in, but I kind of did this to show the difference between the two. So from an out-of-the-box standpoint, like getting the S5 with the kit lens gives you a lot of versatility, because I'm at 25. I can go into 50 and get this exact same angle, which is what I've been doing for my green screen videos, because I've been shooting those with the S5. And that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, whoa, this is way too wide. And I zoomed in to 50mm, and I was like, okay, this is like the same. This is my old camera. As a kit with the lens, I just feel like it's a really versatile lens, especially for video. If I would have had something like this when I started, I would have been able to do like way more creative videos. Like, a lot of the times I got shoehorned because I had this lens and then I was in a smaller space, and to capture the scene, like, I would have to back up. Like, if I wanted to record back very close to the glass, I'd have to leave this camera in the same place and back up like 2 or 3 more feet until I'm in the back of the room, which is how I used to record my unboxing videos. The video I recorded last week on the S5, I had the camera right up against the table, and I got this cool ultra wide shot. So I'm already able to be more creative with the S5 than with the GH4, just because of how versatile this lens is. And like I said, I'm not going to completely say like, oh, it's because of the S5. You only have lenses like this. Like, there's really good Micro Four Thirds lenses. There's really good zoom lenses. But I did try a lot of those lenses when I worked at Panasonic. And like I said, there were some good ones. Like, the higher end ones were really good. Like the $700 to $1,000 price range ones were really good. But I never really felt comfortable spending that much money to get like a good zoom lens. So I just bought a cheap one, and then I was like, this kind of sucks. This camera is a good quality lens. It's a 20-60. So I felt like I'm kind of good. I'm good. Like, this is a good lens. The other reason I upgraded is because I really wanted to shoot in 4K. Now, the Panasonic GH4 does do 4K. And unlike this, where I'm working with a 30-minute record limit because I'm shooting in 10-bit, the GH4 actually doesn't have a record limit for 4K. But what it does have is a crop. A horrible crop on an already small sensor. So the S5, it does have a crop if you shoot at 4K 60. Also, you can shoot 4K unlimited if you shoot 8-bit. I just shoot in 10-bit. But I'm still getting full frame. Like if you go up to 4K 60, you get an APS-C crop on the S5, which is still bigger than the sensor that's in the GH4. Like even the crop on the S5 is bigger than that sensor. So right now I'm shooting in 1080p, like a high bitrate 1080p with the full macro four thirds sensor at 50 millimeters. So I'm going to show you what happens if I crop this. I'm going to go actually change the settings right now. So this is 4K 30 on the GH4. So you see like I'm actually losing the top of my head and some of my chest here. It's not like super horrible, like it's doable, but it's already a small sensor. Then I already got this 25 millimeter lens. This is equivalent to 50. And I'm already in a small room. So you see how all these things are a bad combination and why I don't usually shoot in 4K. And by the way, this is in 1080p upscaled, so I don't want you to think that this is the quality of the 4K. I'm actually just recording to the Atmos Ninja 2, which only does 1080p, and then I'm just upscaling it for this video. So this is not actually 4K. Okay, now I'm back to the full sensor. So that was a big part of it. When I found out I could actually shoot 4K in full frame, I was like, ooh. And then also, if you get an Atmos Ninja, or an external recorder, you can record 5.9K RAW. The other thing, and this is a small thing that I didn't realize so after I got the camera, is the Wi-Fi has improved since 2014. Well, it's amazing, y'all. I didn't even know that Wi-Fi had improved, but apparently it did. The Wi-Fi is better on this camera than it is on the GH4. The main thing is this connects to my phone over Bluetooth. I'm actually recording right now. So there was already an existing app, which I use a lot for the GH4, which before it was the Panasonic Image app. So I use it to set my focus because I had to have the camera so far away from me because of this lens that it was easy for me to just pop in the app, hit autofocus for it to grab my focus, then disconnect from Wi-Fi because the processor in this camera did not allow me to connect to Wi-Fi and use an external recorder at the same time. Disconnect from Wi-Fi, start up my Atmos Ninja 2, and then go from there. But the good thing about this, the Lumix Sync app and this camera, is not only has Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth. When this camera starts, my phone can easily connect to it over Bluetooth to send images, but also I can initiate the connection, like the Wi-Fi remote shooting and view connection right from my phone without even having to go through the camera menu to go to Wi-Fi and select the setting of remote shooting and view. Start from my phone. Takes a long time. It still takes a long time. It still takes like 2 minutes to connect. The GH4 took a long time. So that hasn't changed. It's still not great, you know, it's Wi-Fi over a camera, but it's just a lot more convenient than having to go through the camera settings and then go to my Wi-Fi and then find the network. To go through the camera settings and then disconnecting. I can just do all this from my phone now, and it makes it a lot easier. So there's just things that, for my particular workflow, were made a lot easier by having this better Wi-Fi option. Reason number 78B. That's not even the number I'm at. Reason number 78B that I like this camera. This camera has USB-C. The cool thing about it is you can charge it over USB-C and you can connect it to a PC and use it as a webcam. And this camera actually does have a pretty small body, so using it as a webcam is not as outrageous as it seems. Like I already have a mount on my desk. I have a GH3 there right now, and I'm pretty sure this is probably around the same size as the GH3 because that was also a smaller camera. So I want to pop this up and use it as a webcam over USB-C. I can, which makes a lot more sense than using HDMI, then using an adapter, then using third-party software to make it into a webcam. It's just kind of built right in. It's just one of those nicer things about having like a more modern camera, and then this is going to be like super overkill as a webcam. Like it really is. So that's another cool feature. Another reason I stuck with the Panasonic ecosystem is, like I mentioned earlier, I do have Vlog on this camera, which is basically like a super flat color profile, so you can go ahead and throw your LUT up there. It allows you to make more changes. In editing, I'm probably butchering my very, very, very basic explanation of it. But basically, I'm able to just put a lot of my footage and then do a little bit of tweaks and then I'm done with it. So I was able to continue the same exact workflow with the S5 versus if I would have got a new camera, and like Sony has S-Log, and I would have had to learn the way, like the Sony way of doing things. So it was just nice to be able to have a camera, the same family, and be able to continue the exact same workflow. So basically, when we break it down, the reason I chose the S5 is I really wanted a full frame camera, and this was the cheapest option. It was actually only like $100 more than the GH5 Mark II and the GH5S, but it was full frame. Now those cameras do have a slight advantage because they technically can shoot at better quality codecs, like all intra, which means like no detail is lost on each frame. The S5 doesn't do all intra because basically it's a low-end version of a full frame camera. Like Panasonic has the S1 and the S1H, which are like the higher end variants. This is basically the entry level full frame camera versus the GH5 and GH5S being their high end micro four thirds camera. So there's kind of weird things like that where like technically this has a better sensor than those cameras. Those cameras have some quality settings that this camera can't do. Also, they don't have like record limits for 4K. And the other thing I want to mention in defense of the GH4 and all micro four thirds cameras is there's a lot of cheap lenses out there, like a lot. Like when I got my GH2 and my GH3, which I did videos on those, I racked up on cheap lenses, baby. I went on Amazon and got me some $60 glass, like glass and metal. That's it. You manual focus, 25mm lenses. They look really sharp. Like you can really save some money on lenses. Like on micro four thirds. The cheapest S5 lens that I saw when I was looking was the one that I had, and I saw it used for like 300 something. Man, I'm glad I like this lens because if not, I'd be saving up for a while to get another one. So that's also something to consider. That might be another reason to stick with like a micro four thirds camera or just a camera in general where the mount isn't as new and you can get like, you know, already established lenses. You're not spending crazy prices. But that's all I gotta really say about why I chose the S5. Like I said, this is outside the norm for me. I really want to talk about cameras when I get a new one or I upgrade. So don't subscribe for this video. Subscribe for my other content. But if you enjoyed the video, do toss a like on it. And with that being said, make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, and always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace.